As we light the chalice this morning, I share these words from Thich Nhat Hanh, who says, "I define mindfulness as the practice of being fully present and alive, body and mind united. Mindfulness is the energy that helps us to know what is going on in the present moment." So may we all take a deep breath and enjoy these present moments together in community.
This reading from 17th century poet and haiku master Basho. Go to the pine if you want to learn about the pine, or to the bamboo if you want to learn about the bamboo. In doing so, you must leave your subjective preoccupations with yourself. Otherwise, you impose yourself on the object and do not learn. Your poetry issues of its own accord when you and the object have become one. When you have plunged deep enough into the object to see something like a hidden glimmering. While I was away from my regular church duties, I spent more time alone and in silence than in any other period in my life. And the quiet time by myself had many effects on me. A few of them are goofy. For example, now that I am spending more time with human beings again, I realize that I am talking to myself out loud. So here at church the other day, I was in the fridge looking for something, and a woman came into the kitchen, and at that moment, I realized that the conversation that I thought I was having silently in my head was actually words coming out of my mouth. And I explained, I just realized that words are coming out, and I'm sorry if that was weird for you. But the quiet and alone time impacted me in other ways as well. Some simple, some profound. Before I go into that, here's an example of one of my favorite sabbatical activities. I sit by a river, occasionally tossing in a dandelion. The first dances hesitantly along close to shore. The second dandelion fails to gain enough wind, landing on the rocks, perhaps content, incurring no more risk. The third dandelion flies triumphantly, landing smack mid-current, then parades proudly downstream. I pay attention. My mind wanders, and then I bring my focus back and pay attention. During sabbatical, I was fortunate to take 2 mindfulness-based stress reduction classes. The first was at Penn, open to the wider community. The second was a practicum at Jefferson, designed for helping professionals to learn how to bring mindfulness into our work lives. Mindfulness is a very common term these days, and it's being taught and practiced around the country in a large variety of contexts. I think this is all very good for the country and people, just getting this kind of activity and conversation at a higher level. There are all kinds of versions, but the one I took, called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, is a scientifically and medically based amalgamation of Buddhist wisdom and Eastern practices. And there's a short version MBSR class being taught at our church on Sunday afternoons starting today, which you can still sign up for. I'm going to start offering meditation on Thursdays at 5:30 for 45 minutes. It'll be mostly silence. And there are other meditation programs going on in the church and in the wider community. During my first class, I realized that this experience was unique for me. All the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. I was ready to be the student, and wonderful teachers appeared. You can, it turns out, engage in mindfulness meditation in a myriad of activities, which was beautifully highlighted in the piece that the choir just did. Sitting next to the river was actually doing my homework for the classes. Mindfulness involves paying attention to the present moment without rejecting or holding on. Paying attention to the present moment without pushing it away or clawing into it. And this can be difficult. Practice helps. Practice can involve paying attention to breath or sound. If your mind wanders, do not get down on yourself. That's one of the things I love about it. If you're getting down on yourself for not doing it right, you're double not doing it right. You have to be kind. Your mind is active. Healthy minds often wander. Simply and gently come back to your breath or the sound. Throughout months of meditation, I experienced various phases. Early on, I went through what I call the laughter phase. Simple things were often hilarious to me. For example, a bumblebee hovering by a sunflower or a worm inching along would just crack me up. I thought, this is the most fabulous thing you could see. Or, while sitting in silence, a question would come to me, such as, why is it so difficult to care about people and to not worry too much about them? Why? Here I am, why? And then the answer would come to my head, because it is. And I would just think, I'm 49 years old. I've been thinking about that question for decades. And here I am in the big mindfulness class. And the answer is, it's difficult to care about people and to not worry too much about them because it is. And it's hard to say, but my body would just quake with laughter. And with respect for the group dynamics, it happened many times. I would work to keep it in, and looking around at the group of silent companions, I would think, people, is this hilarious to you like it is to me? And I look in their face and I say, no, it is not. It does not look like it's funny to them right now, so be quiet and do not distract. That phase waned. And next, I went through a completely different phase, which was painful. Over the course of many weeks or months, I went through some of the most intense self-dislike that I have ever consciously experienced. It was very difficult. During this time, I knew that meditation had increased my capacity to concentrate. I was experiencing a lot of different things that were different ways of engaging with the day, and it included my ability to pay attention to myself. Zen masters say mindfulness can provide dual experiences of being a part of an experience and being a part from an experience. So at times, I was within the experience and keenly aware of myself, but I also was witnessing myself apart from or away from what was going on. And quite often, I did not like what I saw. Kent with too much edge. Kent too much people-pleasing. So it's hard to put words on what I didn't like or feel good about, but that's some of the best ways I can do it. With the guidance of teachers and my own inner voice, I sat with those observations and feelings. I didn't grab or claw onto them, nor did I push them or run away. I paid attention. And it was painful. That word I know is accurate. And with time, the intensity of that phase diminished. My next phase included a release from self, relatively speaking, and a lovely connection to the power of each moment. A lovely connection to the power of each moment. I felt the wisdom of Basho, the Japanese poet. Go to the pine if you want to learn about the pine. In doing so, you must leave your preoccupation with yourself. Otherwise, you impose yourself on the object and do not learn. Your poetry issues of its own accord when you and the object have become one, when you've plunged deep enough into the object to see something like a hidden glimmering. And sitting by that river or walking down the street, I did leave my preoccupation with myself, and poetry did issue of its own accord from inside of me. I did see hidden glimmering in daily engagements, and at times things felt very bright and alive. That's the best way I can say it, bright and alive. One teacher says it's common for people who practice mindfulness that everything old looks different because it is now being seen in a new light. Everything old looks different because it's now being seen in a new light. With this in mind, I'm coming back to the Unitarian Society of Germantown for my 16th year with deep honor and gratitude in my heart for all the times we have shared, grown, cried, and laughed, failed, and succeeded. It's also true that in coming back together, we are experiencing every moment for the first time. There has never been a moment exactly like this one. Each relationship can be new in each moment. Right now, you can pay attention to you, knowing that this moment is different than any moment you have ever experienced. This everything old looks different thing could be helpful, as many of you have heard a few of my stories more than once. Many of you have heard about how 20 years ago I went on a weekend silent Buddhist retreat. Upon arrival, I was anxious and learning that after breakfast and lunch, people fasted from noon until the following morning. About 12 hours after arriving, I asked the head monk permission to talk with him, and I told him, hey, I'm really sorry, I am not going to make it. I got to go home. And then in the pitch dark West Virginia woods, I drove as fast as I could to the nearest McDonald's which I remember where it was, and I made it 10 minutes before closing time and happily ordered a supersized meal. At 10:50. Since that debacle, I have attended many retreats with silence and found peace and solace. I am developing a new mindset, and I know many of you are. Many people in this congregation have years more experience with mindfulness and meditation than I do, and I learn from them. A number of years ago, I started taking 3-day, 2-night silent retreats on my own at the Jesuit Center just west of Reading. It's a gorgeous facility, very well run, and anybody can go there for a self-retreat. If you're interested, talk to me. I love silent retreats so much that when it's time to come home, I really don't want the silence to end. And I know it doesn't have to end. And you know it doesn't have to end. We can all engage in little periods of silence. Now, we do believe in retreats. We have a men's retreat coming up first weekend in November, which will be on a lot of mindful activities, including yoga and walking. That's going to be wonderful. And there's a women's retreat at Murray Grove run by the district of UU churches the same weekend, first weekend of November. But we also know if you're on the train going to work, you can practice mindfulness. If you need to get up from your desk and go to the bathroom, walking down the hall, you can practice mindfulness. If you're holding a baby, you can practice mindfulness. If you're washing the dishes, you can pay attention to washing the dishes. Sometimes it's tough, sometimes it's easy. Make no mistake, this is not some naive thing saying that everything's bliss in mindfulness. No, it's not. It can be painful. It's life. But I'll tell you, when I do it, I often feel a tremendous swelling of life force in me. Now granted, in our home life, we do have a lot of conversations about Batman, Iron Man, Hulk, Harry Potter, blah, blah. So I am a little skewed in the language of special powers these days. But I am telling you, the best language I can use to be accurate is mindfulness can build up your body, mind, and spirit life force in you. And it does not take a 3-day silent retreat with the Jesuits. The benefits are cataloged, and there's piles of journals showing. A recent Journal of Psychology listed benefits of people who practice mindfulness, including higher brain functioning, increased clarity of thinking and perception, increased immune function, lowered blood pressure, heart rate, and anxiety levels, increased experiences of being calm, internally still, and feeling connected. I think most of us would like to feel those effects. This is not the one-way road to heaven, church. So I'm not saying this is the new only way. It's a way that I think a lot of us can resonate with. My sabbatical is over. By all estimations, in my absence, the church did fabulously, outstandingly well. I am not surprised at all. And now we are back together. It's pertinent to note that meditating alone can be an important, excellent opportunity. And for most folks, meditating in the Sangha or the beloved community brings mindfulness to its highest fruition. This is so true for most aspects of our lives here in beloved community. So many of the things that happen in this church can and do happen elsewhere, but we believe that when you do it in a community like this one, in spirituality or making justice, that can blossom into the highest fruition. I'm so excited coming back to pay attention to now with all of you. Let's practice in order to increase our capacity to be intimate and connected to a wider array of life, paying attention to life. When our minds wander, coming back to the moment that is here for us right now. Blessings be.